Good morning, everyone. I am to be retirees. Please, in a few minutes, we just experience background. Again, good morning. Speakers, welcome to the 22nd seminar by Lagos State government. We want to apologize for starting a little behind schedule. We experienced slight in terms of technology. This is what we face every time all over the world. It's not just Nigerian problem. So we apologize to you and do wish that we'll make it as we soon commence the program. You are welcome to the 22nd retirement seminar to retire employees, staff of Lagos government across public services in Lagos State. My name is Adeyemi Olanrewaju Ajayi. I'll be your host for this program today. It will be very, very, very valuable. And of course, it's a program that we have been holding for quite some time, virtually since the pandemic. And of course, we've been having a lot of success all along the line, even up to this moment. We have a program agenda set out, which we'll be relaying to you shortly. We also like to inform you that at any point when you have question, just drop your question in the chat room. We'll be very glad at that point to pick up your question and respond accordingly. We at some point will be mixing our English language with Yoruba language for the benefit of those who do not have an in-depth knowledge of some of the terms that we'll be using in the course of this conversation. We have our speakers ready in the house. We have the officials of Lagos State Pension Commission also ready for this program. For àǹfààní wọn tí wọn ò fi bẹ́ẹ̀ gbédè Gẹ̀ẹ́sì lọ títí pàápàá jùlọ lórí àwọn ọ̀rọ̀ kọ̀ọ̀kan tá ó máa sọ ní èdè Gẹ̀ẹ́sì tí ò sì ní àfiwé tààrà ní èdè Yorùbá. Ọjọ́ kejìdínlógún karùn-ún 2020 èyí tí à ń ṣe ètò láti fi ká gbé láti gbé fẹ̀yìntì ní ìdí ìṣèjọba mo bí a ti ṣiṣẹ́ ṣe ti ṣe ìgbésẹ̀ díẹ̀díẹ̀ láti ṣe àṣekágbá iṣẹ́ wa yálà pé a ti ṣiṣẹ́ fún ọdún gbọrọ ni àbí wípé ó ti tó àkókò. Wọ́n ní àgbẹ̀ olóró kúkú gbàgbé ilé, òun la ṣe mú ètò yìí wá láti fi jẹ́ kí a fi hàn yín gbogbo ìgbésẹ̀ tó yẹ kí a gbé láti fẹ̀yìntì lọ́nà tó péye àti kí ẹ̀tọ́ wa ní ìpínlẹ̀ Èkó kó lè tẹ̀ wá lọ́wọ́. Tó bá ní ẹnikẹ́ni nínú wa ní ìbéèrè tí kò yé wa, a ó rí tí a ti tẹ̀ láti fi béèrè fún èyí. Ètò yìí láti pé ọ̀gá iṣẹ́ Lagos State Pension Commission, ìyẹn ọ̀gbẹ́ni Babalọlá Òbílànà, láti fi ọ̀rọ̀ lọ́lẹ̀ láti fi lọ́lẹ̀ fún wa ká tó bẹ̀rẹ̀ ètò yìí. For the agenda in the program, I would be calling on the DG of Lagos State Pension Commission, Mr. Babalola Obilano. Mr. Babalola, please, over to you. Over to you.
All right, thank you, Mr. J. Good morning, Minister of Training and Pensions, body of permanent secretaries here present, my brother, colleague, and friend, the Executive and Investments, Lagos State Pension Commission, Mr. Olumiwashi. All Lagos State Pension Commissioners are intending on behalf of the Lagos State government, the entire staff of Lagos State Pension Commission, Laspec. I welcome you to the 22nd Retirement Benefit Documentation Online Seminar, which will ensure you don't exit from activities. The Lagos State government acknowledges and appreciates your years of productive service. It's imperative for us to ensure that your transition to retirement is seamless and stress-free. The state government cares to the well-being of its workforce, present and post-service. The current administration highly prioritized the resolution of all issues in the state, and Laspec constantly reviews and is Mr. Governor's goal immediate of pension entitlement upon retirement from the public service. Today's program was organized to execute on the necessary document required to promptly access your accruals and or pension requirement. The program would provide valuable information managing your personal finances in retirement, knowledge of investment, estate planning, and relevant health tips to promote healthy living will also be offered to you so that you can fully enjoy your pension entitlements in retirement. I assure you that the sessions will be very enlightening as we have assembled a panel of experts to facilitate this pre-retirement seminar. Please listen attentively and take notes, and there will be adequate time for questions and answers. At this stage, I would like to invite the Permanent Secretary, Office of Establishment and Training, Dr. Onayele, who is representing the Honorable Commissioner for Establishment, Training and Pensions. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Am I audible?
Very audible, sir.
Good. I am standing in for the Honorable Commissioner, Office of Establishment, Training and Pensions, who I'd love to be here, but due to some unforeseen circumstances cannot be around. And I'll be reading my speech, which goes thus. The Permanent Secretary, Civil Service Pension Office, the Director General, Laspec, Executive Director of Finance and Investment, Laspec, all intending retirees. The administration of Mr. Governor Babajide Olusegun has continuously prioritized the welfare and interest of pensioners in the Lagos State Public Service by ensuring the prompt payment of government's pension obligations to ensure that the financial freedom of retirees in the state is maintained monthly. In the state by maintaining monthly the payment of retirement obligations despite the global pandemic and its adverse effect on the economy. Furthermore, the Lagos State government is dedicated to maintaining its leading role in the Nigerian pension industry by improving on the timely payment of retirees' pensions and all applicable benefits upon disengagement from the service. It is the intention of this administration the outstanding pension payments by the end of this governor's first term. The Lagos State Pension Commission has organized today's pre-retirement documentation to prepare all prospective retirees for the imminent retirement process. As retirement life is round the corner, I wish to advise you to embrace the joy and challenges of this new phase of life. Be wary of fraudsters and seek advice from competent and reliable sources. In this regard, please do not hesitate to contact Laspec or even the Ministry of Establishments, Training and Pensions should you require clarifications or advice regarding the modalities surrounding your retirement benefit matters. I congratulate every prospective retiree present and wish you all the best. I pray that God will give you good health to enjoy your retirement. Ìgbéga ìpínlẹ̀ Èkó, àjùmọ̀ṣe gbogbo wa ni o. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, sir, for a very brief and quite if you have question at any point or comments, please drop this in the chat room and we'll pick it up and respond to you appropriately. However, we want to admonish you to please mute your mic. We've actually muted everyone, as a matter of fact. And of course, like we said, drop your questions in the chat room, and of course, your comment as well. But we admonish you beyond all this to listen off program, and so that we can have a proper understanding of the steps to take before retirement. Fún àǹfààní àwa tí a ò fi bẹ́ẹ̀ gbédè Gẹ̀ẹ́sì lọ tààrà lórí ọ̀rọ̀ tá à ń sọ láti ìbẹ̀rẹ̀ ètò yìí, ẹ jọ̀wọ́ tí ẹ bá ní ìbéèrè kankan, ẹ wo ibi tí a kọ chat sí lórí ẹ̀rọ tó bẹ ní ọwọ́ yín, kí ẹ tẹ ìbéèrè yín síbẹ̀. A ó sì rẹni tí ó mú ìbéèrè náà tí ó dá yín lóhùn. A ó fi àyè gbà yín lákòókò tí ẹ ó béèrè ìbéèrè. A lè má fi àyè gba gbogbo yín, ṣùgbọ́n àwọn tí a bá lè fún láyè láti béèrè ìbéèrè wọn lórí afẹ́fẹ́, a ó ṣe èyí tí àkókò bá gbà wá. Lórí èyí, a ó máa tẹ̀síwájú nípa fífi ọ̀rọ̀ tí a fi láti fi lọ́lẹ̀ fún. So we will be starting to this presentation. Step by step. I have today with us, starting with the first presentation. The first presentation is on retirement benefits under the contributory pension scheme. So to take us through this, I will have to invite Mr. Seyi Okunla. Mr. Seyi Okunla, please, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so Mr. Seyi Okunla is HR and admin officer in the technical department of the Lagos State Pension Commission. He's going to take us through this conversation in the next 15 to 20 minutes. If you have any question in the course of this conversation, kindly drop it in the chat room. We'll pick your questions. We'll respond to them appropriately. So over to you, Mr. Seyi Okunla. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Please kindly permit me to stand on the already established protocols. My name is Seyi Okunla, and in a couple of minutes, I'll be taking us through retirement documentation process under the contributory pension scheme. So in the course of my lecture, you'll be hearing me saying CPS, CPS. That's just the abbreviation for contributory pension. So, and please, Ejo, Mama saw Ede Gesi, just like the host, the moderator have said, Ede Gesi, Pelede Yoruba, dear. So what do we stand to learn from this short speech? We'll be looking at retirement benefit documentation process. We'll be looking at accrued right and clearance letters, and we'll also be looking at types of benefit payments. Next slide, please. Okay, our intended retirees, please note, that retirement is to be planned for and not to be scared of, because it is inevitable. Afẹ́ àbá òfẹ́, gbogbo la máa retire. Tí ọlọ́jọ́ ò bá dé, retirement ló máa kọ́kọ́ dé, but àdúrà wa retirement ló máa kọ́kọ́ dé. And as a result of that, please note that proper preparation and documentation is the key to getting paid on time. So please do not forget this. Sometimes some of us, immediately we retire, the first thing is we want to go and rest. We just drop our pen and we are out, we want to go and rest. You think after in the next 2 months, 3 months, 1 year, they won't pay me. Let me leave everything. Later I'll come back. Please don't do that. Don't do that, because proper preparation is key to getting paid on time. Please note that the documentation under the CPS wants to make your retirement documentation seamless. That is one of the objectives of CPS, to make it seamless. Please note also that I want to talk about retirement benefit documentation process, and that is divided into two. We have the pre-retirement documentation and we also have the retirement documentation. So the documentation to Laspec is what we call pre-retirement documentation, and that is what we'll be looking at now. Please, documentation to your PFA, who has the responsibility of paying your retirement benefit, is that second stage, which is the retirement documentation. Now, next slide, please. Now, please note that it is expected that you commence the process of retirement 6 months with a notice of your impending retirement to your employer. I can remember when we're reaching out to you via our phone calls, some of us were already telling us, we already, that's a good step. It's part of what we want to do now. 6 months before you retire, it is a necessity that you inform your employer. Don't wait for your employer to come and meet you that I might retire. 6 months before you retire, please let them know. And please note that Laspec form will be given to you on request for you to complete. So if you are currently working in the mainstream means those administration of finance, Ministry of Agric and the likes. If you work under TEPU or TESCOM, if you currently work under SUBEB or local government, every one of you will have to fill Laspec forms. And this form has to be in two copies, please, 2 copies. But if you are a parastatal staff, then you need not complete the Laspec form. All you need to do is for your employer to inform Laspec that you have retired, and they must have paid in all your dues into your RSC account. Then Laspec will now issue a clearance to your PFA on your behalf. Now, what are the documentation you need to do to Laspec? What are the things you need to take to Laspec? What are the things your current MD have to send down to Laspec to process your retirement benefits? Please, you will need a duly filled form on which you should indicate your establishment number. This is very, very important. Please note that if you are in mainstream, every employee of mainstream have establishment. If you did not open a joint service, it is not open an establishment number. And please, on that Laspec form, make sure you indicate your establishment number. This is very, very important. The reason why we are saying this is because for those who are teachers, their number is on their files. For those who are local governments, they don't use a staff number. But for mainstream staff, you use a staff number. And that is what will enable us get out your establishment number for the Ministry of Establishment, Trainings, and Pension. Also, what do you need? You need a notice of an acceptance of retirement. Before you retire, you have to inform your employer via writing that, okay, I'll be going the next 6 months. I'll be going on so date. They will respond with an approval that, okay, you can proceed on retirement, whether statutorily or voluntarily. So please, you need that notification you wrote to them and the acceptance that was given to you to proceed on retirement. This has to be certified through copies. So the photocopy of that original, take it to your PDO, the person responsible for pension in your MD, to put a certified true copy on it. It has to be signed, dated, and named as well. Then you need asset declaration certificate from the Conduct Bureau. That's for those who retire above level 10 with effect of 18. Also, you need a copy of your letter of appointment and confirmation. This has also to be certified through copy. It has to be certified through copy. We don't need the original. All we need is that photocopy, a copy stamp on it. You also need 2 passport photographs. Please don't forget. Let it be stapled on that last form. PFA welcome letter. Nígbà tá a join in 2007, tá a join, wọ́n fún wa ní lẹ́tà kan tó fi gbà wá wọlé, ìyẹn là ń pè ní welcome letter. You need it. And also you need your original copy of record of service, accurately progressed. Please note that word, accurately progressed. Especially for those who are under temple if your record is not correct, this can cause delay. Please, this is very important for those who are under TESCOM and mainstream. Those who are in local government and suburb can just write something. For mainstream, so it has to accurately progress. Clearance, you have to get your clearance from Housing Board, from Skybank, from car loan operator. Please don't forget. Then, if you will retire above level 15, so we call personalized from BSO. Compute your accrued rights under the past was discontinued in March 2007, and effect so those people you work for that was entitlement and have to be into your document. To your PFE by Laspec. With this, you can now proceed to your process. So you fight that no longer indebted to the government. On your behalf, land issue a client to PFE. At the certificates and and also the value of the to be on it give to you. But that money will be account. It's important not to be issued what is who currently work on any of us in Lagos, please that all plans to form Laspec, and they need to defend to us that your right on your doubt to your now please of those who tech Lagos State Lagos Education, those are parasitas paying your pension, paying that employer notes that. Okay, now we've talked about documentation to Laspec. I said that is the first. I said under the CPS, it is divided into two. Laspec, NC funds, to say light, and in PFA. So what do you need when it comes to documentation to PFA? Now you need the letter of your notification and retirements. Retiring soon. You need that need the appointment back when you are going to your PFA. This is after your bond has been your bond. Then you also have certificates. When you collect the bond from Laspec, don't keep it to your PFA when you are going. Pay slips fún àpẹẹrẹ ẹni tó bá fi sílẹ̀ ní oṣù kẹta ọdún that is any slip. You also need your 2 passport photographs when you are going to your PFA. Please, you need your birth certificate or láti dání ẹ̀jẹ̀ kalọ́máwá. Àwọn tábàlẹ̀ ti kúrò nípa èjì wa ẹjọ́ actually go Laspec so I don't put ourselves in trouble. The photocopy of your identification, please. Driver's license is good, national ID card is good, international passport is good, but your Awatangbe states are not valid, please. Then you also print your statement of account so they can confirm that bears your name. Now, look at this diagram. Look at the first term there, M block. If benefits at retirement is not a particular amount, it turned out to be 550,000 naira, but development it has been get up. So if your total benefit is not up to a particular, is not a particular amount, the loss that you should be given money for but if that money is beyond this particular amount, then you have to take lumps from that total benefit. But is a percentage of that your total benefit. It will be between 5% and 50%. So it can be less than 5%, but it can be more than 25%. So once the person is taking that benefit, any money you have less than that benefit, what you will use to draw pension on a monthly basis. In drawing pension, there are 2 ways you can do that. We offered by the PFAs. I want to currently like the PFA. So that is by the product of the PFA. If you feel like, no, I want to do insurance, so you have to take that money from your current PFA to an insurance company, go and buy annuity. So either you insurance withdrawal or through annuity. And the third one there is death benefits. Our prayer for you is that nobody will die in service. We want long to enjoy and live. But what states that the money in that RSA will be given to the beneficiaries because you are a nest of kin as beneficiary. You will be taught the difference of now, that's a cow jububu toy. Now, don't leave everything to the last minute. There's a saying that as you lay your please don't leave everything to the last minute. Likely slim to the last minute. The previous slide, please. Okay, finally, look at this. Switch in time saves everything when it comes to pension. Note that retirement is inevitable, so, but if it did not occur earlier, it is sad that you will leave the office. The fact that you are living a regular income and your world is another form of regular income. Retirees, please. Thank you very much. Time for question and answer, you're allowed to ask your questions.
Thank you. And thank you, for going on the presentation. But don't forget, if you have a question, and we'll pick your questions there. will respond towards the end of this program today. And of course, some of our presenters can equally pick your questions and respond to them. We observed some comments in that some of you couldn't hear very clearly. And it looked you for at your end. I really láti ṣe ètò ẹ̀rọ náà tó ṣe yẹ kí ń gbọ́ káàkiri. A lọ sí orí ètò tó tẹ̀lé eléyìí, òun ni ètò lórí going on a discussion on managing your finance while retirement. So I have Mr. Wale to take us through this. Mr. Shueton, please.
Thank you very much. Commissioner, Minister and Pensions. Good morning, Director General, Lagos State Commission. Good morning, the Secretary of Finance, Laspec. Please permit me on the other protocol. My name is Wale Shueton. To this paper titled Your Finances in Retirement. Attending retirees. And while you're preparing for retirement, I wish you a happy retirement in good health and financial prosperity. Briefly, by way of introduction, some realities of retirement, and we want to look at the fact I want you to know that retirement is a journey and it is not a destination. So we started our retirement, please know that this is not a destination. We're just starting of our life. The second thing I want to know is that our basically all the money we used to get in retirement that so our income is to use. The third reality is that how we used to prepare our minds towards this reality. The fourth one is that free benefits, and this will no longer be available to us. There are some fringe benefits while we are still in employment we enjoy. When we are no longer available for, and last, to realize that we will feel the effect of inflation more because our purchasing power is reduced. So while we retire, the inflation than while we are still in employment. Next slide. So basically, in terms of our retirement entitlement, there are two categories of our retirement entitlements. First, a lump sum. One is our pension. So let us quickly look at our lump sum. And also, in terms of our lump sum, I want us to look at some of the considerations we need to look at in spending our lump sum. The first one is that we need to avoid risky ventures. I know that before now, a lot of us would have, had so many financial obligations. I want to advise that we should not be very quick in spending a lump sum. So please avoid risky ventures. At this point, engaging in ventures is risky. The normal adage that says that the high this does not apply to us in our lives. So please don't do risky ventures. The second consideration is that we must invest in productive assets and not. There are so many assets that are wasting. They're assets, but they are wasting assets, like motor vehicles, like clothes, like jewelry, all those things. They are wasting assets. So let us invest in productive assets, assets that are productive, that will give returns. Then, in short, before we decide what to do long term, vis-a-vis maybe we want to do business or whatever, in short, you can buy financial instruments. Okay, you can buy treasury bills, buy short-term government bonds, and all that before we decide on kind of business to go into. The first consideration is the comfort of our house, rent income. I know most of us would have built big houses and mansions. I know in our lives we don't live in big houses. Our children, they've married off, so it's just us and spouses. So if you have a big house, you can convert part of the house for rental purposes. And it's even good for our health to have people that are living very close to us, so we can socialize and interact with people around us. And one is that discretionary expenses like marriage ceremony be well planned for and provided for. Plan for them very, very well. Don't just engage in spending on souvenirs and all those things and buying clothes for birthdays and ceremonies. At this point in our lives, we don't need to do all that. Then lastly, we can earn daily cash flow, by engaging in petty trading or start a small business venture or start a business for better performance and returns. That we will be collecting on the monthly basis. There's some situations that we need to look at. Basically, our monthly cover like daily feeding, Medicare, and household fees. This is what the monthly pension is for. The thing that you need to do is, please, if you have any form of credit card, please cancel it. Cancel all forms of credit cards. These are like loans to banks. So we don't need all these things, at the time that we are retiring. Number two, don't borrow against your monthly pension. Avoid borrowing against your monthly pension that you are expecting your monthly pension in a few days' time. You need to borrow money against it. Please try to avoid it by all means. Live within your monthly pension. Number three, do not buy Asoebi. I've said this before with your pension. This is not the time for you to start buying Asoebi and all those things for parties, Number four, do not engage in government contracts unless it is cash backed. Yeah, like I said, I'm not saying government contracts are not good. They're good, but we all know the time within the waiting period and all those things. So try to avoid engaging in government contract unless it is cash backed and you know that your money will come out as quickly as possible. And do not make purchases on credit. Try to avoid making purchases on credit. So these are the considerations that we need to look at in terms of our monthly pension. In conclusion, if you have to assets your beneficiaries while still alive, or establishing a trust foundation. Writing a will is not a death sentence. Retirement is supposed to be a period of joy for senior citizens where they're able to travel for leisure, put their feet up, and reflect on life. I pray that we all live the rest of our lives in good health and prosperity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wale Shwetan, for your presentation. And thank you so much for keeping the time on this segment. Once again, dear soon-to-be retirees, if you have any question, kindly put this question in the chat room. We've seen some questions already and response from Laspec. So questions coming, and we'll keep responding to them. We've taken note of this question, and those that were unable to answer towards the end of this program, we would respond to them. And also, we'll be giving to the presenters to respond to your questions as well. Fún àǹfààní àwọn tí a ti tẹ ìbéèrè wa jẹ́, a ó máa béèrè ṣe àṣekágbá ètò tí a ní lónìí. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ máa mú ìbéèrè náà wá. Bí a ti ń béèrè ni a ó máa dáhùn ìbéèrè yín. Lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ àwọn dáhùn gẹ́gẹ́ bí a ṣe ń fi wọ́n sí ojú ẹ̀rọ wa. Èyí tí a ò bá lè dáhùn ká tó parí ètò yìí, a ó gbìyànjú láwọn àwọn ìbéèrè yìí. And the next item is a discussion on exit planning. We have the IBTC. Mrs. Agaba Oloja should be taking this presentation. Mrs. Agaba Oloja, are you there?
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. If you can hear me clearly.
Very well, we can hear you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me stand on existing protocol. Congratulations to our retirees. Our prayer is that you will live long to eat the fruit of your labor, to build and inherit, to enjoy all the sweat that you do. Everyone at some point in time will kick the buckets, will peme, will buy, will die. The prayer, like I've said. So there are various cycles of the human life. There's the stage of consolidation for where very soon you carry the generational transfer. Usually that one plan of things based on our individual terms, banking instruments, savings, where we put our monies and our money's interest. There is investment for us. The pensions that will collect on retirement. The process through has accumulated assets for later use and converts these assets to their loved ones. Now, planning an aspect of estate planning, but a lot of people don't plan for their exits. Find out that several things happen. In planning for your exit, you have peace of mind, knowing that if anything happens, your beneficiaries will not go through the trauma of accepting or accessing the assets that you do have. But I will explain in the next slide what happens when there is no estate plan. We're very aware that there are several things that happen, one of which is that there's a lot of fights, there's a lot of resentment, there's a lot of fear. There are challenges ahead, there's a lot of anger. What is the most people will themselves will be lost. And the reason it will be lost is because nobody else knows that they have this investment in this bank or in this fund manager, or they have the land they purchased. If you do not write down, documented, articulated anywhere, those assets can be lost, and it leaves the family in grave situations. I'm sure we know very many stories about several things in that regard. Now, there are several estate planning options. You can choose to write a will, like Mr. Shelton has mentioned. It's not a death sentence. You write your will, you articulate your thoughts around it, and you state who your beneficiaries will be. I'll explain that in detail in the next slide. You can make an inter-survivor's gift. You can do a transfer. You can set up a limited liability company as an asset holding company. You can even have assets jointly. You can also take out insurance and establish a living trust. Please note that you can have a combination of any of these estate planning options, as we will see that, for instance, your will, for you to be able to transfer your pension assets, like Mr. Shei had mentioned, in the case of death, it can only go through the probate process. So if you have written your will, able to receive your pension benefits along with other assets. If the individual has died without writing a will, the only way that that pension asset can be transferred is if the family now goes to go and get what they call letters of administration from the court. Now I'll explain what a will is. A will is just a simple document that stipulates who the owner of the will wants to get certain assets. Here we usually explain the difference between a beneficiary and next of kin. A next of kin is usually for contact details. In case of emergencies, the person that your organization can call or anyone can call. Next of kin does not necessarily mean beneficiary. Beneficiary is who you choose to inherit. So your next of kin can be your spouse, and your spouse can also be a beneficiary because your spouse is the beneficiary that you want to inherit. Some people have stated parties, maybe their cousin or their brother or sister, as a next of kin. And in their minds, they're thinking, oh, that's the person that they want to inherit. It's important that you demarcate between beneficiary, who you choose to inherit in the documentation you fill, and next of kin. Now, a will, just like I'd mentioned, just go back to this slide. Let me just explain some things about the will. So with a will, you have to have certain conditions. It has to be validly executed. So you must write it. It has to be signed in the presence of two witnesses who are not beneficiaries. You cannot be giving something to someone and then the person is witnessing that document, witnessing the transfer of that asset because it's you vulnerable. We've seen that a lot more people are what more dead than alive. You can imagine the pension assets, group life for some people. If anything happens, you're writing that in your will and you're transferring, and the beneficiary is seeing that they inherit all that. Some people may be tempted to go beyond and do the impossible and push you to the grave beyond. That will not be our portion, but we're encouraging you to ensure that your beneficiary cannot be a witness. Not only does it expose you to a lot of risk, it nullifies the document. With a will, you have positive display of your emotions. You can say who you want to get what, how you want them to do it, and it's easier to have your will processed than letter of administration. The other option in the next slide is speaking to inter vivos gifts. Some people don't want to wait until they die before they transfer their assets. They can, in their lifetime, move and change the ownership of that asset from themselves to the beneficiaries. It can be their spouse, it can be their children, or whoever they choose to. However, some people have concerns around the issues of inter vivos gift because they've seen situations where they've done the transfer. Because when you do an inter vivos gift, it doesn't go through probate. There's no delay with an expense in probate. You derive joy in seeing that the beneficiaries are utilizing those assets. And then you are aware of the decisions that you're making. Nobody's coming to say, oh, was he of sound mind when he was giving it? Because you would have done the transfer and the person has, as it were, received title and ownership. But it's important that you determine before you carry this option, because some people have had cases where they've transferred their assets and debt has refused to come, and the people that they've given those assets to have not been able to come through for them to assist them. You can also, in the next slide, carry out what we call a limited liability company. You can incorporate that. Now, the company goes, the company does not die, the company lives on, and it's easier to transfer shares, especially when assets are bought in the company name, to another party. If you wanted to sell it, if you wanted to transfer it, it's easier to transfer shares other than to sell the property and the likes. But there are some concerns around the company taxes and the filing requirements that some people have regarding a limited liability, which is also an option. The other option that we've seen in the next slide speaks to joint ownerships. So assets are held jointly and assets are held in common. So you can have assets jointly owned, and there's what they call the law of survivorship that applies. The surviving party automatically takes ownership of the asset, so that in the case of death, it doesn't go through the probate process. The surviving party automatically takes that ownership. But there are concerns around issues around trust. You can have a situation where your spouse or the party that is jointly owned with the assets begins to abuse it. You are the one conserving and saving, and the other party now begins to spend and begins to waste the assets. So usually what happens, it's useful for you to determine, and when you are having a joint assets held jointly, it has to be in both your names. So Mr. A and Mrs. B, your name. You don't have a situation where it is just Mr. and Mrs. It has to be both your names, and the law of survivorship would apply. Please also ensure that the assets should be held jointly, and it should be a situation where either can sign, so that you're not having a situation where it's only one person that is signing, to avoid the expenses and delays with probate, because it won't go through the probate process. The next option is around insurance. So with insurance, we're all aware of the very most insurance policies. You probably are enjoying health benefits. These are some of the benefits you enjoy as a staff of the Laspec and Lagos State, because you're to the hospital and you don't need to pay cash because you have insurance policy. Once you retire, you may need to carry out an insurance policy that will cover your health, so that in case of any illness, you may not need to pay cash. The insurance company will assist you. They already have an insurance plan. So it helps you with peace of mind. You're not going to be worrying about having to make a deposit if you fall sick suddenly, and it helps in eliminating risks. Some people have concerns around insurance because of claims, but if you go through a registered licensed stockbroker, insurance broker, I beg your pardon, you are able to help us. They're able to assist you in ensuring a seamless processing of your claims. The next option is regarding a trust. So with a trust, you can transfer your assets to a trustee. Trustees, we will hold that asset and administer it in line with your wishes, which you would have captured together in what we call a trust deed. Unlike a will, the trust doesn't go through the probate process, so there's no delay, there's no waiting and all of that. Your wishes will just carry in line with what's in the trust deed. It's a contract document, are protected, and there's a seamless of your wealth. You have what we call a living trust, which in your life you see it play out. You can also be a beneficiary, and you can continue to administer the trust in line. We'll continue to administer the trust for you until death occurs. The next slide will speak to what next. We've spoken a few things. So what information that we are furnishing you? The first thing is that you need to ascertain assets you have. Anywhere you are started with money, please look at what real estate, share stocks, and out where are they held and in what name are they held. It's important that you do so that you can begin to consolidate your assets and determine whether you want to put it into a trust, put it into a will, you want to do gifts and the like. But I need to mention here that assets, the only way it can be transferred in the case of death is through a will, where you would have stated it, your executors will go and get grant or probate letters from the court, or in the absence of a will, letters of administration, where your administrators will go and get letters of administration from the court before the peers can distribute any asset. So and ensure that it is not your next of kin that is stated in that document, that you state in that beneficiary declaration form. It's also important, like I mentioned, to consider writing a will assets. You also need plans in place to take out an insurance policy that would help you mitigate against illnesses, especially the health insurance at this point in time. We also advise that you review your current position and employ the services of professionals. It's not just to go to anybody to assist you in dealing with. You say that you will live long and see and enjoy the fruit of your labor, but it's also important that you do what is required to ensure that when death or incapacity comes, you are well prepared. And while the children are grieving, your assets that you have worked very hard for is not going into waste. Very much. We'll take any questions at this time. You can also put the questions in the chat box. Thank you, Mr. Over to you, Mr. Ajay.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Emi Agabaoloja, for your presentation. Quite very elaborate. Thank you very much. I also want to thank Mr. Sheyokola and Mr. Stanley Duru for responding to some of the questions so far in the chat room. At least I can see the questions quite very comprehensive. We're taking note of this. And of course, the questions and answer doesn't just stop At the end of this program, you'll be getting contacts of our colleagues from Laspec, through whom you can reach the ask further questions even after today's program. This is Agaba Oloja, Director Estate Planning with Stanbic IBTC. Thank you very much for your presentation. So we'll be going to Mrs. Ada Dugan. Mrs. Dugan is going to talk to us about health tips, and I can assure you that you're going to enjoy our session. Mrs. Dugan, you would think at the end of this conversation, you would think she is a medical doctor. You'll be surprised that she is a lawyer. And of course, quite interesting. For over the time, we've had opportunities of listening to her. Èyí tó kàn ní láti sọ̀rọ̀ lórí fún wa nígbà tí a bá fi ṣiṣẹ́ fẹ̀yìntì tán, ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ohun ló máa ń ṣẹlẹ̀ tó yẹ kí a mọ̀. Ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àrùn díẹ̀díẹ̀ ló máa ń farahàn fún àwọn tó bá ti ṣiṣẹ́ fẹ̀yìntì. Ó yẹ ká mọ̀ bí a ṣe lè ṣètò àwọn ara wa, tá a ṣe lè ṣètọ́jú ara wa láti má lè jẹ́ kí àwọn àìsàn kéékèèké wọn borí wa. Mrs. Adadugan ni yóò máa sọ̀rọ̀ lórí ètò ìlera fún wa. Mrs. Dugan, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay, would you like to control your slide?
I hope you can all hear me.
Absolutely, we can hear you. I want to unshare so that you can share your slide from your end. Is that very fine by you?
That's fine, thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Dugan, a minute so that I can equally give you the right to share. Okay, so please, can you share now?
Yes, about to.
Okay. You should be able to share now. Okay, thank you very much. I think you're live, and thank you. Over to you, ma. Mrs. Dugan, can you hear me?
Good morning, esteemed ladies and gentlemen of Lagos State and soon to be retirees. Permit me to stand on the existing protocol. My name is Ada Dugan. It gives me great pleasure to congratulate the intending retirees on their soon to be retirement from the service of Lagos State. Ẹ káàárọ̀, ẹ̀yin ìyá àti bàbá wa. Orúkọ mi ni Ada Dugan. Ẹ kú oríire, mo bá yín yọ̀. Mo dẹ̀ kí yín pé ẹ kú ìpalẹ̀mọ́ nídìí ìfẹ̀yìntì iṣẹ́ Lagos State. Now generally accepted that the greatest possession anyone can have is good health, from which we derive the adage, health is wealth. May the Lord grant each of us robust health with overflowing joy. The importance of managing one's health in retirement cannot be overemphasized because it can make for a very pleasurable and enjoying retirement on an unhappy one. The ability to expect and constructively plan for physical, mental, economic, and social changes is critical to enjoying sound health in retirement. Our aim, therefore, is to assist persons approaching retirement to expect and constructively plan for imminent changes in their health and lifestyle, to take responsibility for managing your health. Now, we cannot talk about managing health without mention of the COVID-19 infection. We're all familiar with it, so I won't spend too much time on it. We're all familiar with wearing face masks when we're in crowded places. Washing of hands has become part and parcel of us now, I believe, to spread disease-causing germs. Covering our mouth and nose when we cough or sneeze, sometimes sneezing into our sleeve or into a handkerchief rather than our hands, so that we don't spread disease. Social distance when crowded places that we cannot avoid. cleaning and disinfecting frequently used surfaces, and of course, staying home when we feel sick. If you notice that you are manifesting some of the COVID-19 symptoms, Lagos State has a health line, a hotline that you can call. Please do so, and you will immediately receive attention. Now we've started associated with the aging process. And when we retire, sometimes for some people, they begin to experience ailments that we have on the slide. Ailments include minor mood swings and sadness. And why is this? A lot of people by themselves with work. So when they are retired and no longer go to work, they feel sadness of an isolation from colleagues, from friends at work who have almost become like family. There's usually persistent reference. And remember that it's a time when a lot of the children have left, ones have left home. So most of the retirees are left on their own. You may begin also to experience some minor sleep disorders, some minor visual impairment, some minor hearing impairment, forgetfulness. This is part of the aging process, nothing strange. Urinary incontinence for women. When we're excited or we laugh or we're in traumatic situations, we just find that we have peed a little. Muscle weakness. Sometimes because we are getting, and let us be frank. For 78 years, no machine can for that length of time without breaking down, without being thoroughly overhauled. There are also major aging and retirement, things like serious visual impairment. Could be in the form of, it could be in the form of. We also experience some cardiovascular disease in the high blood pressure or diabetes mellitus, sugar. It may be obesity, because remember, it's a time when we are pretty sedentary. We're not getting up, we're not as active as we used to be. So it may be arthritis. It's also a time when some cancers may begin to rear their ugly heads. Cancers of different types. For women, it may be breast cancer. It could also be cervical cancer or uterine cancer. It could be colon for both men and women. It could be prostate for men. It could also be anemia. We may also experience some reduced kidney function, kidney, and some mental health issues, such as Alzheimer's and dementia. Now, it's important to recognize and deal with mental health. It is often disregarded in our community, and this is very, very important. Depression would normally manifest itself in the beginning. Signs of mental health issues would manifest with signs of depression. And so there's some symptoms on the slide, things like loss of appetite and weight. Inability to sleep, we've mentioned that before. Loss of energy and motivation. Mood swings and irritability. Anger outbursts. If you notice that you're experiencing any of these symptoms, please take urgent action consulting your doctor to deal with the symptoms that need medical attention. Now, emphasis is on a preventive approach rather than curative approach. Kò dìgbà tí àìsàn bá dé bá wa tó sọ̀kalẹ̀ sí wa lára, ká tó bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí wá nǹkan ṣe sí. In this video, we ask that you observe good standard of hygiene. Take daily baths, 2 if possible a day, if not at least 1. Lẹ́ẹ̀mejì lójúmọ́. Ká máa jẹ inú wa, care of the teeth and ká máa tọ́jú irun wa, ká máa fọ̀ déédéé. Nails, care of the nails, ká máa tọ́jú èékánná wa, ká máa rẹ̀. And of course, the entire body. And it is actually important to note that the World Health Organization has designated the 15th of October an annual day of hand washing because of the importance of washing hands regularly. Prevention and early detection of critical conditions through regular visits to doctors necessary to identify potential problems. Have yearly physical examination and screening, eye vision, blood pressure, blood sugar, chest x-ray, pap smear for women, mammogram, prostate check. Also advocate self-examination for everyone, man and male and female. Examine your skin regularly. Examine your body. For women, we advocate that you examine your breast at least once in 2. Feel under your arm, touch your breast, palpate it, and then check to see if there are any swellings, any changes in the size, any discharge or swellings around your breast. For men, we also tell you to do regular checks from time to time to ensure that all is well. Our aim is to ensure that you as retirees enjoy quality of life. Now, due to the rising cost of quality healthcare, it's important to plan in advance how to address healthcare expenses in retirement. Healthcare is very expensive. Now, it's kudos to Lagos State government because it's only state government that I'm aware of that is looking into providing free healthcare insurance for retirees over the age of 60. And this would also include things like malaria. It will cover things like malaria, typhoid fever. It will cover things like X-ray of the hand and the leg. And it will cover you because Lagos State government intends to pay the premium in all primary healthcare institutions and in some designated private institutions. Aside from this, there is a federal government insurance called the National Voluntary Insurance Care. The shortened form is the Big Ship, whereby at a premium, payment of a premium of 15,000 naira in advance, it guarantees you to access to health care in any NHIS registered hospital across Nigeria. You also have the private HMOs who offer this healthcare insurance to cover illness. Please note that Lagos State has a provision already for senior citizens over the age of 60 years, whereby they enjoy a percentage discount on surgery in some primary healthcare institutions and some designated healthcare facilities. We cannot talk about health without a balanced diet, healthy feeding, optimum nourishment. Please try to eat a balanced diet in adequate proportion, containing all the nutrients, the carbohydrates, the energy-giving foods, the proteins, the body-building foods, minerals, and oil. We say you should avoid a lot of oil and butter because it can only increase your cholesterol. Try and plan a weekly menu. If you don't do that, what happens is you eat anything and everything in sight. Eat a lot of fish and lean meat. Eat a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables. Limit the intake of junk food, pleasurable as they may be, add nourishment to the body. Avoid late night eating to prevent digestion. Now, the importance of drinking plenty of water cannot be overemphasized. Water has a lot of properties in the body. It washes away all the toxins. It enables us to have regular bowel movements. It prevents constipation, keeps our skin healthy and youthful. Our organs performing this Japanese very slim, lean, and very active. They drink 4 glasses of water, right? Eating that not a lot of ailments. Like high blood pressure, and like I said, it's for the body. Exercise is very important. Physical exercise, at least 20 to 30 walks. Okay, you know me. Swimming is very important. Golf is a very interesting thing. It has been said that more business deals have been clinched in all. Now, this very important exercise that we don't regard as exercise because it's so pleasurable. That is dancing. So I advocate that you put in your old music, and what's Ebenezer, the oldies, put them on. Your heart, at the time you have all the muscles in your body, if you exercise well, you are sweating. And that's do domestic chores, even if you have house help, because it keeps us to people. This stress level, develop confidence and positive mindset. What is going on around in the country, realize that your thoughts create a direct physical effect on you. Try and avoid negative emotions, anger, resentment, or forgiveness. Kamama binu sodi, kamama ni unforgiveness only hurts the person who is holding the unforgiveness. Kamama binu, kamama yarawa. Believe the best is yet to come. Find ways to relax, and laughter is a very good way of relaxing. For different things, but laughter is a universal medicine. The doctors say it is the greatest medicine. Why? Because why is it the greatest medicine? It helps to boost the immune system. It helps to reduce anxiety levels as well. It puts you at ease, puts everybody around you at ease, and it helps you to relax as much as possible. Try to eliminate addictions and bad habits. Do all things in moderation. Reduce or eliminate smoking. It only damages the arteries. Moderate alcohol. Be selective about what you drink and what you eat. Reduce sugar. The importance of sleep cannot be overemphasized. Protecting the sleep of and happiness. In the afternoon, you'll find yourself rejuvenated afterwards. Reduce alcohol to keep you awake. Have a wind down ritual, such as a warm drink before you go to bed, or take a bath before sleeping, and sleep well in the room. Give back to your community and get involved. Give back to the community. Engage in volunteer work with organizations. Kamalo Church. What does it do? In these institutions, they have programs for the elderly, taking you out on a weekly basis, picnic, excursions, have an opportunity to meet with others and talk with them, share experiences. You can also fundraise underprivileged in society. If you look around us, there are a lot of underprivileged. I want Allah, I want I want to do your land. There are a lot of them. Please engage in fundraising for the underprivileged. It also helps us to feel needed and engaged. If you are cerebral, sit on the boards of schools, universities, and higher institutions. Engage in consulting work, mentoring and coaching of young professionals. People, friends, and relatives to make considerable mental and self efforts which help to be and in your mind's because is not showing any home training. Our children are not exhibiting home training. And what is that? If you can leave home early, sometimes at 6 in the morning, don't come back till 10 at night. Young children, grandchildren are left to the device of health, who will only pass on their own values to the children. Children inculcate the right values in them. Use your mind, generate creativity and innovative thoughts and ideas. You can read widely, use the cross right? Engage in hobbies and we've always wanted to engage in, but I've had time. For a lot of people who love traveling, this is the time to travel now that the COVID pandemic has reduced greatly. Indulge in traveling. Broaden your horizon, things that are done in other countries, so that we can even begin to carry them out here. See how solutions are being carried out in other countries, so that we can implement them here in our country. Turn hobbies into little businesses. Each of us has been given a talent by God. We all have different hobbies we engage in. Translate those hobbies into income. For those who love flowers, you can have a florist shop. Fáwọn tó fẹ́ràn òdòdó, a lè bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí gbin òdòdó láàrin ilé, níwájú ilé, ká bẹ̀rẹ̀ síta, á fún wa lówó díẹ̀ sí. Fáwọn tó fẹ́ràn àǹsílẹ̀ aládìrẹ, àwọn tó fẹ́ràn aṣọ, a lè bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ṣe ká fi owó art and crafts, and begin to open a little mini shop in their homes and sell or take a shop outside of the home. If you're cerebral, you can have a business. You can begin to do all those and earn additional income. And let's not rule out this pleasurable role of drama acting. I have an aunt who joined Nollywood in her early 70s. Those are the best times I ever saw her in her life. She was always so excited to be going on screen, and it gave her plenty of money that she was able to use to look after herself. Now, politics, then by all means, contribute your quota to the advancement of Lagos State and the country as a whole. We need you. Enjoy quality life and healthy living in retirement. It's very important. We only live this life once. In conclusion, we say healthy living in retirement is a critical component of time planning. Just as we engage in financial planning for retirement, the same principles should be applied to health planning to ensure a healthy, enjoyable, vibrant, and satisfying retirement. So we advocate that you invest a little time in your health and lifestyle every day. Experience and enjoy today or tomorrow. So much for listening. All this practice, enjoy a fulfilled, satisfying retirement. Thank you very much.
Very much, Mrs. Jordan, for your presentation. You keep giving us about your presentation. Like I said, we'll try and apply for you to be a doctor in addition to your law degree, so that you be a very good community doctor in Lagos State. Thank you very much, sister. Personally, I enjoy your presentation. For listeners, soon to be retirees, if you have a question or questions, kindly post them in the chat room. I can see your questions are being responded to by Mrs. Agabalo. Thank you very much for responding. And to all mentors also who have responded to various questions while the presentation was given. Please, if you have questions for Mrs. Adam, kindly put in the chat. We'll pick them. We'll respond to them appropriately. Ẹjọ́ fún àwọn àwọn àtàbá ìbéèrè láti lórí ìdánilẹ́kọ̀ọ́ tí a ṣẹ̀ ṣe tán. Ẹjọ́ ẹ tẹ̀ sí ojú ibi tí a ti ṣàlàyé lákòókò kọ́ńtàsì ẹ lè fi béèrè ní síbẹ̀. Àwọn tí wọ́n tó ti sọ̀rọ̀ ṣáájú, wọ́n máa fèsì sí gbogbo ìbéèrè tí a bá fi sí ojú ìbéèrè náà. Alákọ̀ọ́kọ́ láti lọ Mrs. Adágún fún àwọn ọ̀rọ̀ wérọ̀ tí wọ́n fi bá wa sọ, pàápàá jùlọ lórí ìlera wa tí a bá ṣiṣẹ́ fẹ̀yìntì tán. Àmọ́ lágbára Ọlọ́run yóò fún ní ìgbà ju ìgbà tí lérò lọ. A máa tẹ̀síwájú, a máa pe ọ̀gbẹ́ni Stanley Duke tí ó ń ṣe trust fund láti ṣe ìdánilẹ́kọ̀ọ́ program withdrawal. So we will be having meditation tools and features withdrawal. Mr. Stanley with trust fund here in Nigeria. Mr. Stanley, are you available for us?
Okay, I might do now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do you want me to push your screen? Okay, thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Ademi. Okay, the Honorable Commissioner will be presented by the Laspec, the ED Laspec, esteemed intending and all the protocols. Okay, here today is to know the things you ought and need to do as you look forward to retire. So apparently this first slide basically covers all PFAs. We are geared towards ensuring that we are all sound in the industry, and as well as having that mission to ensure that you'll be retiring tomorrow, you have sound, happy retirement once you stop work. That's basically where all PFAs have put their vision and mission statement come into play. So the next slide here basically talks about trust fund was incorporated in November 2005. Majority of the PFAs were like 20 incorporated in 2004 and 2005. The law for the CPF came into existence, and then it's going to mean that for the shareholders fund, all PFAs as at present have met the recapitalization directed by the National Pension Commission. So with this, I'm just going to need not all currently now the 20 PFAs exist as sound and strong in the business. Like this. If this is to let you know that those who are using trust fund all over the country. Next, please. Now there are some developments in the industry. You know, we'll not just jump into trying to say, oh, you need to do this, you need to do this. But there are things that have happened near recent times. Number one, we have the multi-fund structure. This highlighted because it contains most of us are 50 now, or will be turning 50 very soon, or will be turning 50 in a couple of days or couple of months before the final retirement. Okay, the system has been put in such a way that once you turn 50 and still active, it takes you automatically into a fund. This fund tree is basically tied to you have lesser risk exposure in terms of investment. So because of your age, the system automatically puts into the fund platform. So for those that are, let's say, 49 as at today, basically in funds, immediately you turn 50, you don't even specify your PF, the system automatically takes you to 3. This is where now, once you come to the funds and you are a retiree, the same system takes you to 4, which is a retiree platform. So the national identity number. This, and I'm sure some of us would have had the data recapture exercise. Part of the requirements for that exercise is having a unified database in terms of individual, including those pension scheme. The My Pension Scheme again is one that was introduced there before now. It's for formal work individuals, but the micro pension has been open for other skilled workers and to accommodate the informal sector. Then the one that is trending, I'm sure some of that, which is the transfer window. Transfer window claims you can from one PFA to another. This window opened November, and it's ongoing till tomorrow. Meaning, if you are not comfortable, if you're not happy with your PFA, you can move your RSA from that PFA to another. So now this brings me to the subject of the day, or the topic of the day, which is benefits, those features. But I'll first of all start with the benefit processing itself. So I just don't want to jump into the features of program withdrawal without talking of the benefit processes. So first and foremost, Mr. Sheyi pointed out some points during his own presentation earlier. There are benefit types. You have the lump sum, you have the program withdrawal, you have the annuity, then you have 5%, then you have the survival benefit, then you have those that have done voluntary contribution in the course of their work. Okay, but I'll take lump sum, which is the payment you get, which is normally standard between 3%. You can't get below 25, and you cannot get above 50%. And we'll now talk about the program, which I'm still going to talk more in the couple of slides, which is the path you opt for after the lump sum. You either opt for a program withdrawal or you go for annuity, which is what pays you money after retirement. So now, let's say less than 50 years, for those that when that comes into your next benefit to access this benefit has been calculated. Okay, the National Pension Commission or a pension calculator. So there are some parameters. This is my pension. So these parameters people today are 50, 55, 65. So all these counts as all these I just listed now has a pay or word or a say in what you get and as your monthly pensions. Then gender is so sometimes I look at it as to some extent. Yeah, gender comes into play here because a man is considered to die earlier than a man. We find out that the same calculator tends to give the man, meaning if the male is having the same age, is having the same RSA balance, is having the same pay slip, which is your sleep at retirement. The same thing. When we impute it in the calculator as a man and as a woman, male or female, the male will tend to have more lump sum and as well have more monthly pensions. So that's basically where gender comes into play. Then the RSA balance, like I mentioned earlier, then your total annual emolument. So for us in the state now, your bond will still, retirement bond will still form part of your RSA balance, which is why if you retire, the bond it must apply for you as a Lagos State retiree. So note that the benefit department uses that template provided by PENCOM to compute all benefits for all PFA. And thereabout, the PFA still go back to the commission to get paid. So that is basically the process in calculating and for you to pay your figures and for you to be paid. Like this. Oh, beautiful. So actually spoke very inside and clear this the documents you need to present. But let me just run it through since he has said it earlier. You'll be needing the benefit application form. This will be provided to you from your various PFAs. Then you have the request letter. You provide 2 passports. Then valid means of identification. That is where we specific on your data page from your international passport, the driver's license. Then your not the NIN slip will suffice. Then you need to be sure it is that 10-digit NUBAN compliant bank account number. Then your certificate of service, age declaration, birth certificate. For age declaration, birth certificate, please note that this has to tally with what you have in your NIN. And date of birth supersedes any other date of birth, whether the ones with the Lagos State government, the ones you've submitted elsewhere, the ones you've gone to do in court, the NIN date of birth supersedes every date of birth. Then your clearance letter from the state, it was also mentioned. Then 3 months pay slip. I'm sure some of us saw in the chat, I wrote 1 out of, it's possible you might not be able to get the 3 together, but 1 out of your last 3 months pay slip. So you don't need to bring 6 months, your 6 months or last 8 months. Please note your 1 out of your last 3 months pay slip, or if you can still bring the last 3 months pay slip, you can. Then you have a program given to you by your PFA. PFA. Next page. Okay, now the features of program, which is the topic of the the features of program here are numerous. One is why that is where the comes into place. Because your monies, your balance in RSA is being invested into that your RSA. So apparently, program pays you for life. Not just pay for certain as you are receiving this monthly benefit, the pension enhancement is like the National Pension Commission. And this is one of the key features of why retirees can opt for. Another one is that of RSA, which are hidden reserve. It is compounding and it's bringing you returns annually. And at certain point in time, it outperforms where you started from, which is what brings about that enhancement. The next point, which is that return on investment. When you are with program, when you opt for program withdrawal, you return on individualize. What am I trying to say is at any point in time, you can go back to your PFA to request, or those of you that can go to PFA, can take your statement, see your income, the growth that comes into balance left behind after taking the lump sum. You started receiving, so there's return on investment on your balances daily. This is a super feature on why program withdrawal. Then PFAs don't charge commission on your balance. No PFA takes pays for management fees on income that have been brought into that your balance. You see, this apparently puts pays on their toes to ensure that the funds they invest so that they will have good coming in, so that the PA and management fee. So this is an absolutely feature of program. You know, the way the scheme is designed, assets are held in the fund cost. These are basically 4 banks as approved by the National Pension Commission. First Bank and UBA. These are the 4 custodians as being used by the 20 PFAs. This is a potential upgrade in payments. I've actually mentioned this earlier. Payment to beneficiaries of this is a feature you have in the program withdrawal. Here, what happens here is, you know, now I've been talking of you have balance, you have inevitable. Is a role we do. So what happens? The next of kin after they've called that's beneficiary whom you have stated, identified, written, oh, this person is my beneficiary, will go home with the last 1 kobo in your RSA. No period, there's no calculation, there's no deduction. Up to the last 1 naira, 1 kobo in that RSA goes to the beneficiary as identified. So the next one is account statement. I've stated this as well earlier, meaning that you can always get your periodic statement once you opt for program withdrawal. So at each time you see, oh, I've been receiving pensions for 1 year. Where do I stand? What's happening to my balance? Where is the growth? So you can see this either from most PFAs now have gone digital. You can see it either from any of the platforms. And you can send emails, and this will be given to you from all PFAs that you will get. Then the next one is administration of payment of PFA, and is regulated by the National Pension Commission. So this gives you a more comfortable mindset in terms of leaving your balance of RSA with it. Then the next one is the frequency of payment can this like to you. You can decide to take your monthly pension, you can decide to have your pensions monthly. So this one you can take it from the withdrawal form. The change of withdrawal amount means a retreat in program withdrawal to terminate this program. But plus, once you are terminating, means you are going to annuity. Beautiful. You there. Once you move to annuity, and it's managed company. So if which I mentioned as the new introductions into the scheme, which is change of PFA as entirely, and down with your PFA, oh, enjoying their services, oh, I'm not getting the kind of returns my colleague in other PFAs are getting. You can change your PFA at any time. But please note that transfer of RSA is done once in a year. You move to a PFA, we're in May now. You can move to a PFA in May now. The next time you'll be qualified to move to PFA will be after 1 year. That will be after May next year. Like actually talks about factors. You know, I mentioned the why you do program with PFA. To bring out some factors that they when you want to process it. He also, to some extent, mentioned to show your age. Let's do that because ensure that the information provided is to the National Identity Management Commission's details. So, in 1969, with your NIN, and Laspec in their records or establishment in their records, you are giving them 1972. Please, it's like this is going to give you or cause delay in processing your benefits. So now we have time to do these corrections, which is why Lagos has put in this workshop for us to enlighten you and for you to go out and ensure that these corrections are made before you exit the system finally. Then we have excess contributions. Well, for this, we need to state it, even though most times, to a very large extent, I think LASG is good in terms of their remittances and period. Yeah, they're good. So that's what it is initially. Okay, so non-receipt of letter certificate. Okay, this has to be gotten before the processes will start. We've mentioned this earlier as well. Then what other factor? Maybe after you've done everything, you've corrected everything, but what is that delay in you now getting paid in bank company when there is incorrect bank details or contradictory bank details? You know, so this particular one actually delays your payment. So meaning that you've passed, the approvals have been gotten, but on sending to the bank, it comes back because there's an issue with the details you provided. So that's why we advocate, we are telling ourselves now that please ensure the bank details you provide with your respective PFAs are actually what you have with your respective banks. Next slide, please. Okay, so these all PFAs have their mobile applications. For some of us, you could actually still carry out your benefit application from their online or from our respective online platforms. The next slide, please. Some of us still have these interactive virtual assistants. Some PFAs have this as well. So you could actually still to follow up your benefit status, see how to improve about benefit processing as well. You can get it via this interactive virtual assistant as well. And this brings me to the end of my presentation. And basically, it has been said from the first keynote speaker to the last person, retirement is not something we are afraid of. It's something that we need to plan ourselves into, which is why we're here. So I wish us all the best, and I can assure you with the PFAs, you'd have that beautiful, comfortable retirement as you would take. So we'll entertain questions from the chat box as well. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stanley Duru, for that wonderful presentation. And also, super thank you also, listeners. We would also be taking your questions and we'll be responding to them, just as we have so far. Some of our presenters are already responding to our questions, and we just have a few minutes or some time to go, so we don't take too much of your time. We will be going next to our presentation from Tangerine, where we will be talking about features of annuity module. This is quite very important for us, you know, so that we have a great, clearer understanding of this annuity module. So to take us through that, we have Ms. Sakinat Bakari with Tangerine. Ms. Bakari, are you there?
Yes, I am. Good morning.
Good morning to you. Do I control your slide from here, or you control?
Yes, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you. Good morning, distinguished leaders, ladies and gentlemen. Permit me to stand on existing protocols. My name is Sakinat Bakari. I'll be speaking through the features of the annuity module this afternoon. Okay, and I'll take them in 6 buckets, very short slides, but I've just highlighted the key points, the notes there. As you've heard, Mr. Okwonla this morning and Mr. Duru just before me, there are 2 options for you to take your retirement disbursement. Please, can we go to the next slide, please? And that's the programmed withdrawal, which is with your existing PFA, wherever they may be, and what we call retirement life annuity as prescribed by the National Insurance Commission and PENCOM. So there's joint regulation on this. Annuity, generally speaking, is a contract. It's just a contract that insurance companies use to sign up their agreement with you to pay you salary for life. And so how do you buy it? You buy it with your pension balance. You've been contributing money into your RSA for all these years that you've been working. Now, all that money, or most of it, if you choose to take a choose to take a deduction of a lump sum upfront before you buy the annuity, that bulk money is then used to buy an annuity with an insurance company. And annuities are usually for retirement purposes. Why? As you know, insurance companies take risks, and you are also trying to manage a risk that you perceive. So from a retiree's perspective, you are praying, as we pray for you, that you will live long, whatever long may mean to you, 100 years, 120 years, 150 years, 200 years. And the insurance company is the best place to transfer that longevity risk to, i.e. the risk that you're going to live long, longer than perhaps a program withdrawal will support you through. Can we go to the next slide, please? So I thought I'd mention this because so you feel comfortable that there is actually regulatory attention to the product. Like I mentioned earlier, there's a joint regulation between National Pension Commission, that's PENCOM, and NICOM, the insurance regulator. They've come to create regulation on annuity. And that regulation is freely available online if you want to check out the details, but I've extracted what is important for the purpose of this discussion. What do they say in the regulation? In that regulation, as you know, Amy spoke earlier about insurance as a risk management tool. There are insurance companies that insure your property, and there are insurance companies that insure life. Now, within the life insurance space, it is not all licensed life insurance companies that can sell annuity. If a life company wants to sell annuity, they still need to make a special application to the regulator. And the regulator will then assure themselves that these companies have sufficient experience, enough capital, and just the general service arrangement to be able to support the product. Once NICOM has agreed to send an insurance company, they then pass on that list to PENCOM to say, PENCOM, you're the regulator of the PFAs, because we know that annuity is a disbursement option. Can you please advise your PFAs that this is our updated list of insurance companies that can write annuity? So that gives you some comfort. So there's always an updated list which your PFA can show to you should you desire to see it. Now, where Lagos State is concerned, there's an extra step for those licensed insurance companies to take, because Lagos State is interested in ensuring that your retirement money is protected and is with reputable companies. So there's an extra step where Lagos State is concerned that licensed insurance companies for the purpose of annuity must also get clearance from Laspec. So Laspec also has a list of insurance companies that they have checked and certified that can do this product. So I thought I'd give you that assurance as well, that your interest is being looked after, and from a Lagos State perspective. And where annuity is concerned, I already mentioned it earlier, that is for the lifetime, for the remainder of a retiree's lifetime. Once an annuity is purchased, a retiree cannot change to programmed withdrawal. But I will let you know, when it is deemed that you have purchased it later on in the slide. Please can we go on to the next one? Thank you. What are the features? Let me saying that product is homogeneous. I said earlier that the product is prescribed by the regulators. So insurance don't have any wiggle room to try and add this or remove that. It is a prescribed product, the way it is. The only differentiator between insurance companies is the price at which it is sold, which translates to how much you get on a monthly basis. Please, 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 and please, just because you and somebody are buying annuity with the same amount of money does not mean that your monthly payment will be the same, because you have different characteristics. So gender is one, your retirement age is one, you know. And so those are the things that are specific in how much you as your every month for the remainder of your lifetime. Now, I've said that, but there's a feature here that says that there's a guarantee period of 10 years. Now, that guarantee period for 10 years is just there to verify that even if we prove wrong, sometimes we don't. And if we don't, if a retiree passes on within the 10-year guarantee period, there's an amount that will be paid to your beneficiary. So your beneficiary is an important part of your policy document. You must name them. There cannot be an unnamed beneficiary. And your next of kin is not your beneficiary. So key features of the annuity contract in there. So your premium amount, the paid monthly or quarterly basis as you choose. Your boundaries has been scored by Mr. as well and Mr. Duru. And so those are just some of the highlights. Now, another key thing is that no provider of annuity regulation is allowed to advance you a loan. Ashton already reminded us that this is not the time we should go and be taking unnecessary risk and taking loan retirement money. So this goes to underscore that as well. Please can we go on to the next slide? Thank you. So how do you then buy an annuity? You buy an annuity, you know, there's a process before you buy it. And the process is getting a quote. You have to get a quote first. Now the regulators have documents and information which I've summarized here. And that process always starts with your PFA. So things like the available premium, i.e. an amount maybe a net of a lump sum should you choose to take one. And other information that allows an insurance company to be able to provide you a quote. I urge you to please get multiple quotes. Please can we go to the next slide? So on the next slide, I've summarized a 6-step process to summarize the process from starting with your PFA and ending up with your annuity contract. And the first one is that when you approach your PFA, they will give you all the relevant information listed on the previous slide to get a quote from an insurance company. The second step is that you then furnish the insurance companies this information for them to provide you a quote. Please, please, and please try and use, because there will be a lot of noise. People are trying to woo you over to their side. So if you want an independent party to help you get a quote, the preferred approach should be going through a broker. A broker can get you 3 quotes, they can get you 5 quotes, from the market, scanning it for you, and then so that you can make an informed decision. Insurance companies, however, have their own licensed agents. Brokers too must be licensed by the regulator, I should say. But you realize that because the insurance agents are tied to their companies, they'll be wooing you to their side. So just try and get multiple quotes in order to be able to make an informed decision. After this, they give you a provisional agreement, which you will then submit to your PFA. And upon receipt of your application to your PFA, within 7 days, they must then forward it to the National Pension Commission for approval. Once PENCOM approves, your money is then transferred to the pension fund custodian. So it is the pension fund custodian that PenCom still maintains oversight on your money, even though it has crossed to the insurance side of things. This last slide is to remind you that you have rights in this transaction. The first one is that you have a right to choose between staying with your PFA for a programmed withdrawal or buying an annuity with an insurance company, a licensed insurance company. Nobody in that process can compel you to either choose a programmed withdrawal or a life annuity. So the decision is ultimately yours. No PFA, as I told you earlier, because the process is beginning at the PFA side, no PFA shall impose an insurance broker or insurance agent on a retiree. Again, you are the one with the power here. Nobody can force you to do something that you don't want to do. Now, you can choose to take a lump sum withdrawal before purchasing your annuity, but there are calculations that go into this, and you'll be advised whether you can then take that lump sum or not. There's a flexibility to do that. Now, you have, like Mr. Duru said, you can change, even if you choose on one to stay your PFA, 1 year, you can then cross annuity. But once you cross to annuity, you cannot. So also, when you cross industry for annuity, after 2 years, you can do service provider. Where you choose, if you are entitled to a lump sum, you may choose to waive your rights to a lump sum so that you can increase your annuity payout. Now, should you grant this waiver, it is not reversible. It is not reversible. Now, what is the treatment of additional funds? Sometimes you've already started taking your disbursement and then an additional amount is credited to your PFA. The guideline on this is that if the amount that is credited to your PFA is less than 100,000 Naira, you will be paid directly in your bank account. So it's money that you can use as you please. But if the amount is more than 100,000, the amount would be transferred to your annual contract for the purpose of increasing your monthly or quarterly payout. Now, I mentioned earlier that once you go to annuity, you can cross back, but you have wiggle room. We said that there's a 6-step process to actually buying an annuity. You can choose to cancel your provisional agreement, because typically when you get your first payment, or before you get your first payment, the insurance company will give you a proper agreement. It will now not be provisional, it will be the annuity contract. Now, anytime the annuity contract is deemed to have been is deemed to be effective once you take the first payment from it. So whether that be your monthly payment, your quarterly payment, once the first one has been paid, you cannot go back. However, you have a chance to cancel the contract anywhere along that process chain, even after PenCom has approved, even if they've transferred the money to the PFC. As long as the first month's disbursement or the first quarter's disbursement has not been taken, you can cancel it and go back to program withdrawal should you choose. So that concludes my presentation to you this afternoon. I hope that you feel empowered enough to take a decision. Congratulations as you look forward to your retirement. Thank you, Mr. Ajayi, back to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kenneth Bakari, for your presentation. Thank you for that. Quite elaborate, very straight. Once again, dear listeners, please, if you have questions, kindly drop your questions in the chat room. Ms. Bakari, I think there's a question already for you in the chat room. We'll be very glad you respond to that. We'll be going on the last segment of our presentation today. This is from Mr. Yusuf Batunde, who will be taking us through some of the developments that we have in Lagos State with Laspec. We're tech-driven, we're moving quite very fast, and we're achieving quite a lot at Laspec. From àwọn tí lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí tí ó yẹ ká gbọ́ ní tìlédè wa, Mr. Babatunde Yusuf, Ọ̀gbẹ́ni Babatunde Yusuf ni wọ́n máa sọ̀rọ̀ fún wa ọ ṣèdánilẹ́kọ̀ọ́ fún wa lórí àwọn ìgbésẹ̀ kọ̀ọ̀kan tí àjọ iléeṣẹ́ Laspec ti gbé kalẹ̀ láti fi jẹ́ kó rọrùn fún wa láti fi bá wa ṣiṣẹ́ pọ̀ lórí ètò ìfẹ̀yìntì wa. Lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí, tí ẹ bá ní ìbéèrè, ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ẹ tẹ ìbéèrè yín sí wa nínú yàrá ibi tí ẹ ti lè ṣe ìbéèrè yín. A ó máa gbọ́ yín yé, test máa fèsì sáwọn ìbéèrè yín. Ẹ gbáradì lẹ́yìn ṣe tá bá tún ní ṣetán, a máa fún yín ní àǹfààní láti béèrè àwọn ìbéèrè yín. Má gba gbogbo aláyè láti èyí, ṣùgbọ́n ìwọ̀nba wa bá ní ìbéèrè, ẹ jọ̀ọ́ tá bá ní àǹfààní ẹnu yín sókè lórí afẹ́fẹ́ yìí kí a lè fàyè gbà yín láti ṣe ìbéèrè yín. So please kindly, if you have questions, raise up your hands using the raise hand button key. Then we'll give you opportunity after the presentation of Mr. Babatunde Yusuf. So Mr. Yusuf, over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adeyemi. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, at this point, I want to stand on existing protocol. Let me say that we have all been here since morning. We've all been here since morning, and then we have been paying attention. So we thank you very much for doing that. But again, we don't want to stand the risk of making you bored. So this presentation will be very, very small, and then it will be very useful. So you need to pass through this. The first observation I made since we started this is the fact that everybody has been saying documents, documents, documents. And of course, as a computer person, what I decided to do is to start taking notes and start counting the number of times that people have said documents. And my results will surprise you. This is what I got. So this can look a little bit scary for you. This is documents, and this is what documents are about.
Mr. Babatunde,
however,
sorry, we can't see the change in your slide. We're just looking at your profile. Please, can you put it in a presentation format, please? Thank you.
Okay, can you see it now?
Yes, thank you very much.
All right. So, like I said, my job is to present, the process of advancement, what we have gone through to make life easy for you while you are trying to put up all these documents together and interact with us at Laspec. Now, what are the content of my presentation? I want to talk about why do we adopt documentation at all? And then what is our journey like in Laspec on automation of your documents? And then I will also discuss with you our channels of contact from today. Why archiving your documents? Why do you want to have documents in electronic form? Why do you want to digitize documents? And the question is, first of all, what is digitization? What is electronics? I don't want to bore you with what is, the meaning of this, but I will just tell you that any of these documents that has to do with computer is computerization. Any of them is digitization. But what we employ you to do as retirees, prospective retirees, is to begin to put all your documents in digitized form. A PDF document, for instance, is a digitized document. And as I begin to present this paper to you, we are going to see the importance of doing this. First, why do we archive documents? If there's no other why, this is one of why. This is flawed. We are familiar with this. This is our environment. This is Lagos. We don't pray for it. And when this one comes to you, it destroys your documents. In fact, the documents you're about to submit to us now will be just about 20% of documents you are keeping in your life. What happened to the rest of the documents if you can't find them again, or if they are washed away with water? The same thing, fire. But we pray that all of this will not happen to us. Laspec, what have we been doing? What did we do? What is our automation journey like? This is how your files were presented to us. Any of the files we are collecting on your behalf will be presented in this form. But what did we do in Laspec? We just restricted a very small place for where this document can come to us in this form. We pick up the file and then we start working on it. We don't allow these documents to be in our environment. Our wish is that the whole Lagos state will start adopting digitization of documents such that we will not even need to collect these files from anywhere. In Laspec, our aim and our approach is to put your document directly into the system. And when it comes, we use our people, we use the processes we have put together to ensure it's done. We have an army of people that are very, very skilled to do this job. So in Laspec, there's no wasting of time. Immediately we receive your documents, we start processing it with computer. But this one did not just happen. We are just like you. We are an agency like you. We are a ministry like you. And in the last 2 years, most exactly with the appointment of the new management, a lot of automation has been done again on manual activities. All the working tools were changed to new ones. And of course, the implication of this is that we can now work faster. Redundancy is not allowed, which is probably one of the hallmark of public service. We ensure that jobs that are redundant are put together and make sense out of it, and people are work process is well streamlined. We rearrange the workforce, and of course, we did documentation of our procedures. People are not confused about what to do. Then staff are being trained regularly. Even also embark on monthly training for staff. And the fact that we are working in an industry that's dynamic, we ensure that we train staff as any of these new technologies, new ideas are coming either from the federal or from any of our stakeholders, the PFAs and PEPCs. And of course, we are continuing to maintain a very comfortable workspace, which is very good for a good job as well. What do we have? If you visit us, this is what we're going to see. It's our enviable workspace. You find that you think that your ministry has sent to us, you can't find any of them in our workspace here because we have extracted what we need from that file and we have started working on it. The implication of this is, one, less errors. And of course, turnaround time is perfect. And most of you will have your file even processed while you are waiting for the money. Laspec does not waste time because of the digitization efforts we have put in place. How did we get to this point? First of all, we've learned our lesson during COVID, and thank God we were able to also follow this kind of path. We are one of the agencies, if not the only one, operated throughout the COVID era. And why we operated is very clear. We cannot leave old people to their fate at that critical time. So we made use of both cloud and some of the automation in-house to ensure that those people are served. Now, so far we have talked about pre-retirement document about 20, retirement document about 10, the one you are going to also interact with the PS. But the truth is that you on your path, what you should be doing from today is to start first, organize those documents that you are supposed to bring to us. I'm aware that some of these documents have been forwarded to us. So aside from those that are forwarded to us, organize them, pre and post documents, serialize them, use scanner to scan them. You can visit business center to get them scanned. The importance of that is the disaster that may befall wherever the hard document is can never befall that. Alternatively, use smartphone. This is the time of smartphone. If you have someone that can use it, you use it. Scanner software there, then you scan it and then you use it. And then you save this your document on cloud, you save it on USB, you save it locally on your device. And then you are rest assured that you have all the documents with you. Let me just go to our channels. This is very important. Laspec, because of our computerization, we have been everywhere. We're on Twitter, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn. And of course, we're on WhatsApp. Now, this is where our channels are. For email, we have the popular info at email@laspec.gov.ng. I know some of you must have interacted with that email address. What made it different is the fact that any mail that you send to this channel will be attended to almost immediately. And of course, at worst, before the end of business of that day. Now, we have messages, of course, we are invited for this event. Then our website, very robust. I want you to visit our website because that is where the next set of training, will be done. As in, you will be able to familiarize yourself with who you are, what we do, and it's very important because Laspec is the last exit gate for you in the ministry. From this time on, we'll be dealing with you. Now, trying to make it clear, these are our channels. I'm going to see it on our website as well. This is Facebook handle, YouTube, Instagram. These are all the handles that we have. And for you, if you are there, that is very easy. If you are not there, please get your children or whoever to get there. We publish public information are being released from time to time, and any information we need to pass, we do pass it through this channel. Then we did not abandon the traditional telephone techniques. You can still talk to us, For those who are in Tescom, use this number, student, this number, mainstream. We try to delay so that people will be able to talk to people that they want to talk to directly. And of course, I want you to know that these numbers are sacrosanct. These are the numbers you should talk to. You should not talk to another number. In Laspec, we talk to you directly, and nothing should be done outside all of those official numbers we have given you. Now, this is our this is the acceptability of our digital process since inception. So you need to join the journey. This is our website. This is just to show you what the website looks like. And of course, we all know that to go to website is free. So feel free to go there as soon as you leave this place. You're going to get so many things there. You're going to acts and legislation, publication, compliance, even documents, retirement, tips, inspirations, and all that. You're going to get it there. Most importantly, there are frequently asked questions. These are questions that have been put together over 10 years, and they were answered by professionals. If you read this question, equip yourself with knowledge. We go through this process of retirement. At this point, thank all of you for attention. And of course, since I'm the last person, I want to say, Adupelo you. Bye-bye. Thank you for attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Babatunde Yusuf. Before I call Mr. Miwalshin for a vote of thanks, we would like to give opportunity to about 2 or 3 of our retirees who may want to make comments or ask live questions. I don't know if we have any of our retirees who wants to make a comment or ask a live question. If you have that, please, we'll be glad if you can raise up your hand. Do we have any soon-to-be retiree question or comment? If you have question or comment, please raise up your hand. We'll allow you to speak. Otherwise, if we do not have any, we can just close. Sorry, Mrs. Adesoye Abosede, are you raising up your hand? I cannot see it clearly. Okay, please can you unmute, Mrs. Adesoye Abosede? Please, you can unmute yourself. Please unmute yourself. You can see on this, can you see on the screen, ma, where you should unmute yourself? Just press that you should unmute yourself, please. Please, okay, where we do that? Please, you see on your screen where we ask you to unmute yourself. Let's quickly go to Mr. Borishade. Okay. We can hear you, ma. Can you go on with your question?
Okay, sir, I want to know the reason why our next king cannot be our beneficiary.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mrs.
Adesoye, sir.
Mrs. Adesoye said thank you very much for that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so with that question, Mrs. Emi Agaba-Oloja, please. That question to mine, I'm going to call you. Thank you very much. Mr. Bode, can you unmute? Please, you're already unmuted. Can you speak, Mr. Barisha? Barishade, we cannot hear you. Okay, while we come back to Mr. Barishade, we cannot hear him. Please, Mrs. Emi Agaba-Oloja, are you there? Please, can you unmute, ma?
Okay, so
Okay.
your can be your beneficiary if your beneficiary is who you want to inherit. That's if they maybe like your daughter or your son, and you want that person to inherit, that person can also be a beneficiary. Some organizations interchange. So next of kin can be your spouse, can also be beneficiary. Some people put next of kin as a brother or distant kin, or just in case of emergencies, so that you don't go and miss the two. But if you're next of kin, those relation that you want to also benefit, that next of kin can also serve as a beneficiary. I believe the question has been answered, man. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Adesoye, I hope you're very happy with that response. We'll quickly go to Mr. Barishade. Mr. Barishade, can you unmute and ask your question? Hello, Mr. Barishade, we've seen you have unmuted. We cannot hear you. Okay, since we cannot hear Mr. Barishade, we want to thank you all for listening to us. This is a very special program, the 20th Century Retirement Seminar for the employees of Lagos State. We want to thank you for listening. I'm going to hand over to Mr. Muyiwa Oshin, the Director in charge of Finance and Investment with Lagos State Pension Commission, to give a vote of thanks on behalf of Laspec. Mr. Oshin, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ajayi. The Honorable Commissioner, Ministry of Establishment, Training and Pensions, ably represented this morning by the Permanent Secretary, Office of Establishments. The body of permanent secretaries here present this morning, my boss, my brother, and my dear friend, Director General of Lagos State Pension Commission, Mr. Obalola Obilano. My fellow directors in Laspec here present this morning, and all the intending retirees of Lagos State Government who are present at this event this morning. I recognize all of you, and I want to say once again, welcome to all of you for attending this morning's event. I'm sure you have all been educated and given some fresh insights into a lot of things you were not aware of, particularly as it pertains towards your exit from service. It's been a long time you have been in the service of the Lagos State Government. And as you approach the final 6 months of your time and your tenure with this government, it is most important that you exit on a high note. That's the reason why the Lagos State Pension Commission has deemed it fit to organize this program twice a year for intending retirees. This is to ensure that we make the process for your documentation and subsequent receipt of your retirement benefits to be as easy and as seamless as possible. That's why we've brought together quite a number of panelists this morning to take you through varying topics to ensure that you are well prepared for your exit from service. What I would implore you this morning is to ensure that everything you have been taught, everything you have learned this morning, please go back and put them into practice. I would implore you that you come back to Laspec. Mr. Yusuf has availed you with all the channels with which you can reach us to enable you contact us. If you have any clarifications, please do not hesitate to reach us on all the various channels that have been made available to you. We've talked to you about how you can keep yourself in good health. We've talked to you about various options that are open to you once you exit service. We've spoken to you extensively about new developments in the pension industry. We ask that you please endeavor to imbibe all of these things and put them into practice. Please don't wait till the last moment for you to begin all your documentation. We want you to come to Laspec and all your papers are intact so that we don't keep sending you back and forth for incomplete documentation. Please, you have just about 6 months left. Assiduously go about ensuring that all the documents you need to put in place are properly done and everything is submitted to Laspec to ensure we quickly get to work and immediately it's time for you to drop the pen. You are being invited to the bond ceremony. And on this note, I would like to thank everyone for taking our time this morning to be part of this event. I'd like to thank our host, the DG of Laspec, for his leadership and for ensuring that we do things to our retirees' pain and issues as soon as they come up. We thank our ever-present facilitator, Mr. Adeyemi Ajayi. Thank you. We thank all our various partners in the PFAs and the ASPs for taking time out to prepare papers and taking time out of their work this morning as well to give these wonderful presentations to our intending retirees. Thank you to all staff and directors of Laspec for your time and for your care to our retirees. We appreciate you all. Thank you very much, each and every one of you. We ask that you have a wonderful day and a wonderful week ahead. Thank you.